messy and hopefully not too long. I'm just going to go through how I would do the text, and this is also basically how I do any of my mesh objects. I'm not an expert at all, so I'm self-taught here. This is just from my experience of how I work through my projects. So I'm going to start with the text, and I'm going to try to do one that is just a simple serif font, the way that you had yours. Nothing too fancy, but a little more on the serifs than just a sans serif font. Because obviously if you have like a more fancy font, like a script or handwriting or something with curly brackets, that's going to be a little more complex. So, it's going to be a little bit higher LI, more to try to reduce. Okay, so I'm going to do this word here and go over to my font to choose that. And I'm just going to do one of the ones I have called Cavalier. And you can do your extruding here if you want, or you can do it after you convert to mesh. Usually I just do it after. It doesn't matter, I don't think. And then I'm going to go and convert up here, convert to mesh from text. And now it's mesh, but if you go into edit, it's just really messy. There are tons of vertices here. You're not going to necessarily be able to see where the hidden ones are, the doubles, unless you're trying to edit this and pick it apart. Sometimes you'll run into issues, and that could be caused by the doubles. But visually, you're not going to know where they are really. So just as a standard practice, even when I'm doing a regular mesh object that has a lot of verts, or I've been working on it for a while and I could have made mistakes, I will just select it all and remove doubles anyway. It doesn't hurt. So as you know already, up here, the top of the screen is the information on how many verts you have, how many edges, faces, tries, all of that. So keep your eye up here near verts and go over to the left side to the tools panel and scroll down until you see it's where you have delete, merge, and those basic functions. You're going to just find the remove doubles button and click once. And at the top here, you can see it says removed 5,932 vertices. So sometimes that can cut your amount in half. It's just to clean things up. You still have to do a bit more if you want to reduce the LI. So at this point, it's at the largest size on the grid. Unless you want something that's this huge, I wouldn't typically work this large. So I'm just going to size it down a little bit. Either way, the size is going to affect the LI most likely. So anyways, I'm going to go into edit, or actually I'm going to stay in object mode because I'm going to just save out my LOD files now. So I'm going to go to the modifier panel and get ready for that. First, I'm going to export this if this is all I want to do, assuming that you don't want a texture right now and you just want to, I don't know, make it a blank and texture in SL and color it. I'm just going to skip over that part then and go to File, Export, Collada. I use Avastar because I have that add-on. You don't have to. You can just use the regular Save as Collada file. And I'm going to save it to my desktop where I had some other ones I was working on, just testing. So I'm going to save it as, greetings, and save. And then I'm going to go, so that's my high LOD that I just saved out. So I haven't done anything because I want my high to be completely not distorted in any way, if possible. So now what I'm going to do, and this is up to you how you want to do this. At this point, you could modify it. You could put your decimate on and just prepare this copy and save it out as your medium LOD. But I like to have copies that I can go back to and edit. So I'm going to use layers. Now, if you don't know how to use layers, that's okay. So having this selected in object mode, to use a layer, you're just going to hit See, I have to think about this because I do it without thinking. So Shift D and then left click really quick. I just saved a copy. It's the same equivalent to when you're in SL and you res a cube and you want to copy by holding Shift and drag out a copy. That's all I just did. It's the same thing. That was Shift D, and that's going to give you a copy. You can't see it right now, but it is selected. So now that I have my copy of the word, I'm going to hit the M for move key, and I want to move this to a different layer. And here are my layers down here, these little boxes. These layers are the equivalent of when you're in GIMP or Photoshop. It's the same thing. You can put different objects on different layers and work that way, and that's what I do a lot of times. So I'm going to, with my copy selected, I'm going to hit M for move, and I'm going to select the second layer box. And what that just did was moved my copy to the second layer in the stack of layers here. So down here, to tell if you have an object on a layer, you just look for the little dot, the little orange dot. So I have this is my original on the first layer, and if I click on my second layer, here's my copy. So anyways, if you don't want to do this step and use layers, that's perfectly fine. You can work in the same window if you want and just do different objects, or you can save out each time from the same object. That's up to you at this point. But I'm on a different layer, and this is going to be my medium LOD layer. And so now that I have this, I'm going to go to my modify over here, modifier, add the decimate, and I'm going to try to get this as low as I can without sacrificing too much of the quality, but it's going to reduce a little bit. It's not going to be as perfect as the high LOD. So I'm going down pretty far so far, which is really, really nice because this is a nice simple font. It doesn't have a lot of complex shapes around the serifs and stuff. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to hit apply because the only way I can see what it really took away in my vertices is if I hit apply. And that reduced it. I'm at 650 vertices, roughly 1,200 tries. That's not bad for a medium LOD. Personally, I might try to push it a little further. So that part is up to you, how far you want to push it. I'm going to try that. Hit apply, go back into edit mode, and see what it did. So now I'm at 534, about 1,000 tries. I'm going to stop there for my medium, go into object mode, and I'm just going to export this like I did the high LOD, the regular one. So I'm going to find where I save again, and I'm going to save it as greetings medium. Or I just do MED. I don't know if I saved that right the last time. Let me go back to my original and save and export that again because I don't know if I named it the right way. So just ignore this. So I didn't see it there. I wonder why it's not showing up. That's strange. Hold on, let me see if this is saving out the right way or if I'm just hallucinating. No, I'm not seeing it. Why is that? Oh, let's try again. Desktop. All right, I'm just going to save over the copies that I already have. So let me go here and save out my medium LOD again. Sorry about this mistake. Just ignore it. This is save over the ones I did earlier. Okay, now that I have my medium, I'm gonna save because a lot of times my computer will freeze and I'll lose my work. So I'm just gonna call it greetings. All right, so now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna take another copy of this medium LOD by hitting Shift and D and click. And I'm gonna move this copy, third copy, to the third layer. And I'm going to go to the third layer now, and I'm going to do my low LOD. So this is going to be even more reduced. I don't keep my low LODs very perfect looking because when you zoom out, when you're in SL and you zoom out. Like, you're not going to see everything perfectly unless you want a million prims. So I'm just going to take this as low as I can go, and just so that the rough shape of the letters are there, so that there aren't any gaps really too much. And I'm going to try that and see how many that gives me. Go to edit. 418 tries. That's not bad for a low LOD. And that's oftentimes what I will do on my low LODs, is try to keep it around 500 or less. Going any higher is really pushing it. So I'm going to go say export. This is my low LOD. I already had a copy there, so I just replaced that copy. And then I'm not going to do a lowest LOD, because if I do that, it's just going to, this decimate only reduces so far, and it's not going to be enough to get a good LOD for the lowest. So I'm going to just stop here and go over to, I'm going to save, and I'm going to jump over to SL and start uploading this. So, and I hate when it's not midday, because then it's too dark. All right, so upload model and desktop, and I'm going to get the original first, and then I'm going to go to medium, load from file, browse for the medium, which is there, and that's not too bad. If you switch between high and medium, you can hardly tell the difference. So then I'm going to go to low, and I'm going to go to load from file, browse, and get my low one. And, like I said, you're going to have to sacrifice some loss of the quality if you want to keep the LI down. At least in my experience, if there's some other way to do it where you can have a low LI on your low LODs and have it look better than this, then I haven't come across it yet. Other than just creating your own LOD by hand. But doing that with text would get very time consuming. I mean, you'd have to come in on your medium LOD, go to edit, and just start taking away edges and stuff like that where you want, so you can control the shape of the LOD, which is fine. You can do that. I do that. I used to do that on my regular mesh objects. I would just go in and start deleting edge loops to create, my LODs so that they weren't so distorted. But something like this with text, something complex, I don't bother with that. I just go as far as I can go with the decimate, which does it for me. So, but going back over here, I have my low LOD loaded, and for lowest, I'm just going to leave it on generate. And honestly, lowest is such a far away distance in world that I'm just going to leave it at 10 or something. It's not even going to be there anymore. I mean, you have some shapes, but honestly, people shouldn't expect to be able to read text, in my opinion, from the lowest LOD distance. If you're in a store or whatever, I mean, you're going to maybe see some shapes to know that something's there, but the closer you get to it, the closer you walk to the item, it's going to get clearer as it turns into low LOD and then medium and then high. So I leave all my lowest LODs on everything I make as low as possible, sometimes even 0, sometimes 5, sometimes 10, sometimes 20. I don't go higher than 30 because it can significantly affect the number of tries and the the LI. So anyways, after that, I'm going to go to physics tab because I always just do this anyway. I don't know if you always have to do this, but I do it anyway. I'm going to select a mesh cube that I just made in Blender, which was nothing but, a simple cube that I saved out as my physics cube. So all I did was just go, add a cube, and then I just file and exported this as my mesh cube to use for my physics around my objects. This can also affect down here your physics number, your download numbers, the effect it will have on the resources once you're in world. So I try to use a nice simple physics shape around my mesh to help with that. So sometimes it can help, your LI. So I'm going to go back here and I'm ready to calculate. As you can see, I have a land impact of 0.794. That's less than 1 prim. You can't get much better than that. The best you can get is like 0.5. So I'm going to upload and I'm going to res, and it's not going to be super huge, but for 1 prim, I mean, most store vendors, store displays don't use text much bigger than this unless it's like your sign, your store sign, or your logo. So it's not as big maybe as you want it offhand, but it is 1 prim at this size, and I'll bring it next to my avatar, which she's looking kind of tore up because I do test rigging on her, so excuse that. So you can increase this. You have a little cushion here, but the bigger you make it, of course, the higher the LI. So, but still not bad. I mean, right now it's at 2 prims, 2 LI. I mean, 1 prim, 2 LI. So that's not bad. That's a pretty big size for 2 prims or 2 LI. So that's just how I would do it. Again, at this point, you're not going to be able to texture it because there was no unwrapping for that. So, but you can color it if you want, to do whatever. And another thing to consider too is if you do multiple words, I guess, you can do them individually if it might help to save on the LI. But if it works for you doing it all in the same object like you did with your first try, you can do that. That's fine. Whatever works, whatever gives you the results. And if I were to link these, it's going to be 3 prims. But that's just how I would do it. Again, it's just, it's almost like a gamble. I mean, you have to keep working at it, and until you get what you want. You got to really squeeze it out, as low poly as you can go without it looking too bad. But realistically, it's in here in SL, it's not going to be perfect. So I'll just show you, with the LOD settings that I had, I'm at I think level 2 LOD. Over here in my quick preferences, my LOD level is not set to high. My LOD factor is set to 2, which is average. It's right in the middle. So that means I'm not going to see everything at the best LOD, but I'm not going to see it at the worst. So that's a good gauge to use because I think the average SL user is stuck at the default LOD factor, which is 2. So that's how I build and create. I never increase it because I want to know how's the average user going to see it. So at this point, if I zoom out, you're still able to see that there's text there. It's not going to look like the high LOD at this distance, but it's not bad. It doesn't completely disappear until you get so far away that it shouldn't even matter. So that's why I don't see a reason for having your lowest LOD be really high, and then the closer you get, it's there. So it's just a general way that I do everything in Blender. Because I'm a low poly, advocate for low poly by any means, with trying to reserve quality. So I hope that helps a little bit. Sorry that this was long-winded. It's probably going to be longer than it should be. But if you have any questions, just message me in World. I'm on the beta grid right now, but message me in World or anywhere. And because I'm around all the time and usually at odd hours working. So I'm glad to help. I mean, Blender is crazy. What you learned so far in a couple of days is amazing because what you learned so far has taken people months or even a year to get to that point, to even learn how to navigate this program because everything is so heavily relies on hotkeys and, your mouse buttons. It utilizes all of your devices on your computer. So it's not easy at all. I mean, it's free. But what you've done so far is just awesome. And that just shows that with a little help and practice, you're going to be able to master it to the level that you want so that you can get in there and do things without even thinking about it. And, I mean, you're never going to reach a point that you're not going to have to go to some kind of source of help to figure something out. Because even I've been doing this for years in Blender, and still I have days where I'm like, I can't figure out what I did wrong, or how do I achieve this? And I go to YouTube or Google or, whatever. So it's helpful to have a friend nearby who maybe that person has been there before and says, that happened to me. I made the same mistake. This is what I did. It can save a headache. So just let me know anytime. And then if there's also anything else that I can show you in video, just let me know. I mean, I was already planning on trying to do a series of videos for a bunch of things, not just Blender, but like creator related things. So this just helps to push me in that direction where I wanted to go anyways. So I don't mind coming and making a video on something if it can help explain. So anyways, let me know if that was of any help, or like I said, if you have any questions or anything, and good luck. Bye.